everyone, it's Ryan here again with RNG Products, and for today's project I'm super excited as this one's very near and dear to my heart. As most of you know, my wife and I just had our first son and he turns 8 weeks tomorrow. Now during that 9-month stretch that sure seemed like an eternity, and we were decorating his little baby room and we went with a vintage kind of a farmhouse feel, and the room just didn't feel complete. It had a big empty space on the wall and I knew I needed something to fill that void, and I just couldn't find anything I really liked. So here's what I came up with. It's a very simple project, budget friendly, easy to make with a limited amount of tools. It's basically a photo clip type frame. It's got some basic distressed or reclaimed wood here. These are some remanufactured license plates that are cut up so you can spell out your kid's name. And it's just a really cool project, so I'm excited to make it. Let's just jump right into it.
In order to keep this project quick and simple, I just stopped at my local big box store and picked up a couple of these 1x4x8s. And the really neat part about these pieces is they come pre-finished already. One of the first things you'll need to do is cut all your lumber down to size. Now just a little bit of caution here, since we're only using 2 of these 8-foot boards, you're gonna need to do the math to make sure you cut these right. For example, there's 2 14-inch pieces and you're gonna wanna cut a 14-inch piece off of each board. If you were to cut 2 14-inch pieces off of one board, you wouldn't be able to finish the project. I'll also be adding a link down below where you can download the dimensions for this project. Now that I have all my main pieces cut, I wanted to cut some real narrow spacers, and unfortunately I don't have a cross-cut sled, and that's something I am going to be making here in the future. So I used the next best thing, which was this gripper. It worked out fantastic, and right here I'm just cutting some 3/8 inch strips down. Right back here at the workbench, I just dropped in 2 bench dogs to hold my work in one place, and you can see how I utilized those spacers I just cut. I found this is the easiest way to keep the spacing uniform across a project like this. Once you're satisfied with your spacing, you'll notice this particular board has a front side and a back side, so we're gonna go ahead and flip these over right now and start working on our alignment before we attach our vertical uprights. Now starting with the first piece, we're gonna go ahead and align that to the center of the second piece, and right here I'm just using a 90 to keep everything square. Now this part's very important. Once you have the first piece aligned to the second piece, you're gonna jump up to the third piece and make sure you hold the first and second piece still, and then align the third piece. This will keep everything centered. Now simply rinse and repeat for the rest of the pieces, and just a quick sanity check, use a straight edge to keep those 3 pieces aligned with each other right there in the center. We need to attach some vertical strips to keep all these pieces in one place, as well as install the concealed French cleat. Now these particular boards are already 3/4 of an inch, and I didn't want this picture frame sticking off the wall or protruding out very far. So off to the scrap pile I go, and I salvaged some 1x3 whitewood that I had left over from another project. I figured about 3/8 of an inch would be the offset I was looking for. It'll be thin enough, but also still have some rigidity for me. Next, I set a depth stop to 3/8 of an inch and ran these boards through the planer. Now, if you don't have a planer, here's where you can improvise and use any other type of scraps that you have around the shop. Maybe you want it sticking off the wall 1/2 inch. It's totally up to you. Would be a good time to apply the stain or your preferred finish. Once you attach the vertical uprights, you'll have a challenge getting to the wood in between the slats. Simply brush a liberal amount on and then grab a rag and wipe off the excess. The longer you let it sit, the darker the color you're gonna get. Now this particular color matches up to my barn door gray pretty good. You could always water it down with a little extra water to lighten the color up if need be. Good night, little buddy. Now that the stain is dried, we're going to cut 2 vertical uprights, as you can see here. These vertical uprights serve 2 purposes. They're going to keep all of our pieces in alignment and held together, and they're also going to keep the boards from bending up. I really like using these Craig clamps here. I'm just putting gentle pressure on the top side and pushing it up against the bench dogs. Now you don't want to put too much pressure or you're going to cause some bowing. Once your workpiece is secured, you can now take the uprights and get your spacing on the top and bottom. Right here, I'm going with about 3/4 of an inch. I'll just be using some 18 gauge 1-inch brad nails to secure the uprights, and we'll be using one of my favorite tools in the workshop, and that's this Ryobi airless brad nailer. Since I know my workpiece is secured, all I needed to do was use my speed square right here and finish brad nailing the uprights. Once my uprights were secure, I went ahead and measured from inside to inside and got the dimensions for my hidden French cleat and went ahead and cut that on the miter saw. Now I'm just referencing the top of the second board there to keep everything square and in alignment. Next, you're going to want to measure and find a center of the board. In order to make this French cleat, I went ahead and adjusted the saw blade to 45 degrees and then set the micro gripper up so I can make a safe cut. I'm really enjoying this little micro gripper. Now that the French cleat is cut, let's get it secured to the workpiece. Now always double check the orientation to make sure you get that mounted right. Now you'll notice the piece that I attached is a snug fit, but when making the part that's gonna mount to the wall, I wanted a little bit of play left and right so it was easy to get the picture frame on the wall. So in order to achieve that, I simply did a skim cut on the miter saw and that worked out perfect. She's looking good. And don't forget to knock out the spacers. Now simply drill 2 countersunk holes. And here's a quick look at the hardware I'll be using. They're a number 4 by 1/2 inch wood screw, and I picked up these clips at Hobby Lobby, and I took advantage of the 50% off sale. And right here, I'm simply grabbing one of my electronics Phillips screwdriver. That's from Harbor Freight, and I've had that for about 10 years, and it works perfect for small projects like this. Now with these little screws, they could be a little finicky, but just take your time and they'll go in fairly easy. Now there's no right or wrong way to design one of these. For my son, I used cut up license plates, and for this project you can see I'm using a big S. So let those creative juices flow and design whatever fits your needs in the center. I just highly recommend you lay the clips out around whatever you put in the center just to visualize and make sure you have enough room. And don't forget to stain those rough cut edges like I'm doing right here. Now simply choose your location for the picture frame, level that French cleat up, and if you can't find a stud, simply use some drywall anchors and then hang your sign on the wall. It's easy as that. And now the fun part, time to decorate.
Well guys, that's gonna bring it into this project. I had a great time making this video, and as you can see, this was a really easy project to make, and this was my inspiration right here, my little guy Stone. If you're not already subscribed to the channel and you like this type of content, be sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you want to do me a huge favor while you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you guys also want instant notifications when I post a new video, be sure you click on that bell icon, as I'm going to be uploading videos weekly. Thanks for watching guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Say bye!